right. Social media. I know we're on LinkedIn because I just looked up and I see that we're live. It's great to have everybody on that's going to join us live. So I'm Chris Colt, the challenge champion. And before we do this, if you are on live, and I do know there's always a tiny bit of a delay here, let us know where you're coming in from so we can give you a shout out. And if you're on Team Replay, hey, do the same right now, right? Just let us know where you're coming in from, and we'll be coming back to these comments and giving you a shout out. But I'm excited. For those of you that know me, I always bring people on this show that have missions that matter, something within them that they have achieved in life that they know there's other people that need help with right now. And they always have a deep down purpose for helping people with that. And today, my guest is Greg Stevens. He's the founder of Alignment Resources. And really what he helps you do is navigate complex situations and impossible relationships. And I know this, I'm working with Greg now, but something that he invited me to attend about 2-3 weeks ago was a graduation ceremony with some of his clients. And I was blown away. And Greg will talk about this a little bit. I believe it was a 6-month program that he put people through for leadership. And the conversations, the things that people were breaking through and the transformations that were happening, right? We live in this world of AI where there's all this information we can gather everywhere. You know what really matters? Transformation, changing people, getting them to a new level so they can make a greater impact out there. And this is what Greg does. So Greg, honored to have you here today. Let's start with this. Noah, we will introduce you in a second or three. We'll let Greg do that also. But as I say, everybody has this mission that matters within them. Typically, it's something they've been through in life and they got through to the other side. And then they have a people group that they're like, they need my help. Why don't you talk about that a little bit of what got you here?
Well, Chris, thanks for having me and promoting us out there in the world today. I was a poor communicator at one point. I could talk with pretty much anyone about anything, except when it got difficult, when it was high stakes, when the pressure was on. I didn't know how to manage things. So I would typically avoid the conversation, or I'd kind of push my way through and I'd sugarcoat my message, and none of that really works. And as I started, I ended up working with an organization that taught communication skills. And when that happened, I found that I needed to go clean up some things in my life. And so I made a list of 36 different relationships I needed to clean up.
Wow.
And it took me 2.5 years to do it. But I wanted to be the type of person, because I started teaching that program, I wanted to be the type of leader that actually did what I was asking other people to do. And I needed to see what that was like. And so over the 2.5 years while I was teaching, I was getting through these, and some of those conversations were one and done. One person I had to go back to 7 different times. So there's no perfection in what we're talking about. There's just improvement. And what I find is that I wanted to help people get their voice back. If you've ever thought, I don't know how to say that, or I can't say this to that person. Well, what if you could say what you really wanted to in a way that they could hear it and absorb it? And that's what I do with people. I help them with those high stakes conversations in those relationships they care about, whether it's their boss, their board of directors, their family members. I help people where the rubber meets the road. And there are great classes out there to teach this, but there's no class that actually teaches you how to apply it. Because the application comes day after day after day. And most people forget about 90% of what they learn in a class within a week.
Yep.
And there's no way to recapture that. But so what we do, we take what people learn in a class and we help them apply it over time to actually be able to do it on a regular basis. Think of it like driving a car. The first time you get behind a wheel, you might have been next to your parents your entire life. You know how it works. You've done the videos. You've done the little test. But when you get behind that wheel, there's a whole different reality that ensues. And then you remove that other person the first day you're on your own. I guarantee you there is anxiety going on. But it's the application day after day after day till it becomes second nature. Now you get out there, you don't even think about that anxiety. You get out and you do it.
What I love, a few things, you led by example in that story, Okay. You told me 36 conversations,
Yeah.
right? So, in difficult conversations, I'm sure, right? Things that were like, ooh, this, like, let's if you're probably thinking this isn't going to be fun. This is going to hurt. I'm going to hear some things I don't want to hear, but I'm going to get through this.
Yeah.
So you got through 36 conversations. What did that feel like when you actually did it and said, wow, like what was that like internally?
Well, it's interesting because most people say, are you asking me to do this? No, I wanted to do it because I was going to be leading classes in it. But the side effect from it, the thing I didn't know that would happen, I was doing it because I wanted to be that leader. But I had no idea the freedom that I would have. It was like someone lifted a weight off my shoulders that I didn't know was there. All of a sudden, it's like I'm 20 pounds lighter and I can move through and do things differently. So when that happened, I want other people to have that experience. I want other people to see what it's like to go through life, that when there's a problem, I can handle it right away and then move on. And I don't have that baggage holding on to me. And my relationships, they still get muddy from time to time. So
Right.
I still need to use it. I'm not perfect. There's every year I'm looking at how much I can improve, but I've been doing this over 26 years now. So
yeah,
I've improved a lot. And anything you do, just think at 5% a year, what would that look like? And in 26 years, wow, what I can do in a conversation now is much different when I first started.
What I love about that, it's when people talk about mastery, right? Mastery is doing the thing consistently and learning from it and reapplying and reapplying and reapplying. It's like, what I do with virtual events. People are like, you've done how many? I'm like, they work, they're changing lives. And yeah, I'm going to keep on doing it because I'm the quote unquote master, but I'm always learning in the process.
Absolutely.
So talk about the graduation you had a little bit, and then let's get into introducing Noah, because I don't want Noah to be like, hey, what's going on over here? But like, you started working with me about a month ago, and then you invited me into a graduation of your clients. And it's Greg, it blew my mind because the group that was there, I think there was like 30-ish people. I'm really big on micro communities, because micro communities, when they're that tight, they create transformation in life. And I've listened to one person after another and heard a lot of consistent things. So let's talk about what you brought people through over those 6 months, and then a little bit about the graduation. Then we're going to introduce Noah, because Noah ties into what Greg is doing next, which is really important. Yeah, one thing. I see a lot of people are starting to join online. Let us know where you're coming in from so we can give you a shout out as you go. Go ahead, Greg. Sorry.
Thanks, Chris. No, we had a graduation, and this is the first time I've been doing master teams for years now. But I decided people need to hear more about what's going on. I've been terrible about marketing myself, but what we do really changes lives. And we had a group of executives that had finished the 6-month program, and each one came in a little apprehensive. Some people wanted to clean up relationships with their family members. Others wanted to deal with a boss that was difficult, or maybe their board of directors, just different groups. So everyone comes in for something different. But I can move a group further and faster in 6 months than I can a one-on-one coaching in 2 years, because the group dynamic is so powerful and no one gets left out. But as you can tell, everyone got something different. And we have people from all walks of life. We had a CTO of a top 10 Fortune 10 company.
Very well-known company, I'll say. They're in front of me at the moment. I'll just leave it at that.
And we had someone who actually has a huge nonprofit. And then we also had a Catholic priest in. And it's so interesting. We had very different groups, but they all meld together because it's the human experience. Every human being struggles with what we teach. And the insights, even most people think, Catholic priest, you shouldn't have issues with this. They're human beings too.
Yeah.
But what happens is people begin to see what they can control and what they can't. Yep. And they understand how to manage their emotions in those tough moments, how to manage the emotions of other people, how to get their message across in a clean, clear, concise way, where even if the other person disagrees with them, there's an understanding of why they think what they think. And that's just it. Most people said, this class gave me my voice back. What you think about that? These are executives are head of their companies.
Yeah.
And they even feel like they didn't have a voice at times. Now they know how to speak what they need to. And that's the biggest thing. Most people say, used to see problems and avoid them. Now I see them and deal with them. And then there's other people say, I've always attacked them. Well, what happens when they attack them? People feel attacked.
Yeah.
And it's not good long term. How can I do that in a way that actually solves the problem and builds the relationship at the same time? So that's what you got a sense of, people getting their voice back to be able to say those hard things, but the insights were different for everyone. And it wasn't perfect. One gentleman said, came in to work with a relationship with my son. That hasn't happened yet.
I remember that. Yeah.
But he said, now when it does, I'm ready to have it. And that's the difference. You can never change another person. What you can do is change yourself. And when you change how you do things, others may have to change how they engage around you. They may or they may not.
Yeah.
But there's always something good about being prepared for that moment when the opportunity does arise.
You know, Greg, and what I loved about I didn't know anybody in that group. You just said, Chris, just come sit here because you're helping me launch something. I want you to see an end result so you see this is real. And like, I've done this enough. I was like, wow, like the group was just so tight. And, you know, you talked about getting further faster. It's this simple. There's this thing called the Peloton on the bike, right? Greg had this community, and it's a micro community that was just really tight. There was trust. There was all these things there that people were willing to open up. And man, this is what creates transformation. This is what people are seeking more and more now. And it doesn't mean, like you said, it doesn't mean like, hey, I have a conversation with Greg and I have to have a really intense conversation. It doesn't mean Greg and I are going to leave there best friends. But it's going to mean I grew because I stood in that. And Greg probably will respect me more. And then over time, things may happen, and I'll know how to handle those.
Right.
So,
well, also something real big about that is what I find so often when people have these high stakes conversations, they don't show up as their best self because they don't know the skill sets to do that. But what if you had a tough conversation and it didn't go the way you wanted it to, but you knew you did your best? There wasn't any doubt about it. And what I found is when we do our best, the other person many times will come back, sometimes 24 hours, maybe less, and say, hey, let's talk about this again. Because all of a sudden, your behavior is not the issue anymore. They have to look at themselves. And that's what we really want. We want them to self-evaluate. How would you feel if this happened? What would this look like? And so it actually helps us humanize each other to create that connection. Yes. And I think I should introduce Noah now.
Yeah, it's probably a good time to introduce poor Noah sitting there.
Yeah, Noah's sitting here.
I'm loving it. This is great.
Noah is someone I met several years ago, and I saw this amazing person show up day after day after day, and we ended up starting working together. So Noah works with me. He is 24, and I'm much older, but at the same time, he is matured beyond his years. I think he was already at one level mature, but he's gone on and practiced and done these things. He works hand in hand with me right now. I really couldn't do what I'm doing today if Noah weren't by my side. And I do have to say that because I want to honor him and what he's done for my organization. But also when people meet him, they go, where did you find him? He should be your poster child because he practices what we teach as well. So Noah, I'm going to have you tell a little about yourself and how we met.
Yeah, of course. And it's so great to be here. Thanks, Chris. Thanks, Greg. And I mean, I'm so excited that I get to be part of this. So Greg and we met probably, I think it was about 4 years ago. I was in college. I went to Brigham Young University. It was middle of COVID. And so a family member of mine was working for a learning development company. And he was like, hey, there's some job openings. I was a broke college student. I was just trying to pay for tuition and make sure I could feed myself every day. I was like, sure, I'll apply for this job. And so I took a tech position at that company helping run their virtual training events. And lo and behold, Greg was actually one of the facilitators, one of the contractors for that company, facilitating the content. And so Greg and I got put on this deal really quickly and very early on that we were on a lot of calls together, a lot of hours for a lot of weeks. And so we got to know each other real quick. And I had not been exposed to the content besides just like a little bit of interaction with my family member who had worked at that company. And little by little, I learned under Greg, even just being in those situations and helping monitor the tech, ensuring everything went smoothly. And little by little, I was like, wow, this is incredible. And the content we teach is very similar to that. And we've built upon it. And Greg has a lot of new experiences that dive deeper into how to hold these tough conversations. And over time, it was just a natural mentorship that formed between Greg and I. I would ask him questions. Hey, I'm struggling with this relationship. I'm scared to have this conversation. I had this conversation the other day and it went horrible. Like, I don't know what I did wrong. Help me break it down. And so got kind of the master class in difficult conversations and the tools to use them. And little by little, eventually I graduated from BYU. I wanted to be an immigration lawyer, went to an internship at one of the top immigration law firms here in Atlanta, Georgia. And it was not a fit for me. And I think if I didn't have the skills that I learned under the mentorship with Greg, I wouldn't have been able to have that conversation with the CEO of that law firm. He actually brought me into his office. He had a brand new puppy, I remember. And I was the only one in of the interns that had a dog before. So he always made me take care of the dog, which is fine. And so he's like, hey, Noah, can you bring the dog in? I'm like, sure. And so I bring his dog in and he sits me down in front of his big desk. He's the partner and founder of this large immigration law firm here in Atlanta. And he sits me down and he's like, we need to talk. And I'm sure if anybody's ever had a big conversation with a leader or with a boss or anybody really, a parent maybe, and they say, we need to talk, what happens instantly? Your nerves start running, your blood pressure spikes, your adrenaline hits you, right? But I applied all these skills to have a conversation where I told the founder of a large law firm that I was going to reject his offer for me to have a job there and an opportunity there because it wasn't the right fit. One of the scariest conversations I think I've ever had, but I look back and now with the opportunities I've had to work with Greg to help other executives do what I did really in a 6-month period, I wouldn't change it for the world. And so that's how I met Greg. That was the biggest conversation that really was the application of what I've been learning under Greg as a mentee of his. And now I have the opportunity to help executives, other folks like me that are young in their careers, learn these skills, apply them, and see breakthroughs. And it's incredible the kinds of relationships you can build and the kinds of opportunities that arise when you apply yourself to these skills and really practice them, just like Greg did with his 36 conversations. So
nice.
Yeah.
So you've experienced a whole different realm, just like
yeah, for sure.
You're on a whole different path than where you thought you would be, right?
100%. And it's all because I found my voice and I had the ability to have a tough conversation. Well, not just one, multiple, with people that I respected, and it's changed everything. And I love bringing that opportunity and that vision to new people with Alignment Resources. It's so rewarding. It's amazing.
So when you look at the age category you're in, what's that impact to the young adults out there, right? Because there's so many who probably deal with that and they cave. They're like, hey, let me just go down this path.
And I want to speak to my generation. It's very different. And I'm not going to say I know everything about everybody because that's just not true. That's a generality. But I feel, at least the pressure that I felt is, go to college. There's a lot of difficult, concerns that arise, whether that's our future, how are we going to be able to afford a house, all these different concerns with my generation that are just so ever present. And all of that, not that those go away necessarily, but I've been able to confront those and confront the things that make life kind of difficult for my generation through engaging with these skills. Because you learn how to talk to people. You learn how to build relationships with people. You learn how to, understand who you are and where you are and what you can control. And you don't get super flustered over the things you can't control. Just like Greg said, you can control yourself and you never know what's going to happen when you change how you interact with other people, how they might interact with you. So I would just say for folks in my generation, the best step you can take towards being a good leader, being successful in your career, and really being able to create an impact, whether that's in your family or your organization or your community. It's developing these skills and applying them daily. Just like Greg said, we're still students. I still consider myself a student of these skills, and I've been doing it for years. And I have crucial conversations all the time. I had one yesterday, right? Like they don't go away, but I've noticed the more that I apply the skills, the more opportunities arise, the more relationships I develop. And that's really been that launch pad in my career of getting me into leadership positions, building relationships with people that can help me get to where I need to go, like Greg, for example.
Yep.
And helping me feel confident in who I am, regardless of my experience level. And I just want to touch on that super quickly. A lot of times I feel like imposter syndrome is really present when in the younger generation, where you feel like, I can't talk to an executive. I can't engage with someone who's about to retire. Like, they know way more than me. I can't add value in any way. These skills gave me a voice and helped me recognize, what kinds of contributions can I make? Where is my value? How do I speak my truth respectfully? And it's, instead of closing doors, which I thought it would in the past, as you apply these skills and hold those conversations, it opens so many doors. Nice. And people that you respect and people that respect you, when you engage in difficult conversations, it only strengthens the relationship. It doesn't make it weaker. So
yeah, I can see that. Greg, what's it been like working with Noah and seeing this transition?
Oh, it's been amazing because he practices, and I have him even in my executive groups. I told him early on, I said, your tendency is going to be to put them up here, and you're going to find real quickly, because you've been working with me, you have skills beyond what they do.
Yeah.
And it's amazing because he can come in and he sees it right away. We do breakout sessions after we have a coaching session. I said, what'd you see in that? What'd you see in that? And he picks it up like this now because he understands it. Mm-hmm. But what I also love about what we're talking about, it's not only helps people professionally, it's going to help that young emerging leader in their personal life. Okay. Relationship with their parents, relationship with their potential spouse if they're not married. Yeah. Okay. You think about it. You're going to buy your first house. There's a high stakes conversation with the realtor. Right. You get your house. Something happens and you've got to talk to insurance people. You got to talk to people who are maybe handymen coming to fix your place. There's high stakes conversations everywhere you turn the rest of your life. Why wouldn't you want the skills to be able to do that consistently, get better at them over and over the rest of your life? Because I wish I would have had these skills when I was Noah's age. I didn't find them until later in life and get to practice them till then. So that's what I love about this. Noah shows me every day of what it can look like with someone that I'm younger using these skills that I've been able to teach. But I learned just as much from him and watching him, coaching him, getting coached by him, because that's he's moved up to the point of where I look at Noah, even though I'm mentoring him, as my equal as far as what we're doing, because the goal is to get people to come and forge forward with you. And that's what this does. And I find some of the hardest conversations you'll ever have are going to be with your family as you get older, as you get married, possibly as you have kids. They don't get easier, do they, Chris? They get more difficult.
And
because you're so close, right? And there's just so many, just this. I mean, there's so many things in this that when you have the family dynamic.
Yeah. Well, one thing I want to kind of highlight that you said there, Greg, I absolutely love that and totally agree with what you were saying. Too, you mentioned you wish you had the skills when you were my age. And I want everybody to know the executives we work with, like we mentioned, we worked with Fortune 10 companies. We've worked with Catholic priest leadership. We've worked with nonprofit founders, like anybody in the spectrum of business. We have worked with them in leadership. And I kid you not, and Greg can attest to this, I'd say at least 95% of the feedback we get is I wish I had these skills 30 years ago. Every time.
Yeah.
And yeah. And that's where I recognize really quickly. I'm like, oh, these executives and leaders, they have experience and they might be, 20, 30, 40 years older than me. But it doesn't change the fact that they're looking for what I was given from Greg, right? they look for that, and then think about the impacts and all the conversations that you would have had correctly or never would have had to have at all because you had these skills in the first place, right? And I noticed that too with my peers and colleagues that are closer to my age. Is I'll recommend like, hey, have you tried this when engaging with this person, or have you approached the conversation with the best intent you could, right? There's different elements where I suggest that, and people try out those skills, and it changes things. And so, yes, it's good to go back and clean up those 36 relationships, right, Greg? But it's even better if from the beginning you had the skills to maintain those 36 relationships. Yeah. And that's really what the goal we have for the emerging leaders generation, my generation, is help give you the skills to mitigate potential issues in the future, and also engage in conflict in a really powerful, productive, and respectful way.
Yes, I'll say this. It doesn't change the number of problems you have in work or relationship. It changes the amount of time you spend with those problems.
Yes.
Got it. That's what I can actually say. Because what if I could lower that problem rather than being 2 weeks or 2 years, whatever it may be, down to be like 24 hours? What would that look like? Most people don't know because they've never learned these skills.
Exactly. Yeah.
So let's talk about how we can help them learn those skills. I'm going to move myself right here because I moved Noah, so he was
go for it. Yeah,
Greg.
Please.
But you'll see right here a little registration link. You can scan that, and I'm going to drop it in the chat right now, because what we're going to do in a few weeks is we're going to do a masterclass to really help the next generation get to the next level. So Greg, why don't you talk about that a little bit as I drop this in? Noah, I'm going to cover. You know what?
I'll put my head up.
I'm going to move Chris. So Noah doesn't. Here, I'll move me.
All good. No worries.
There you go. So right here, if you scan that, and if you're on replay, it'll take you to the page. It's a wait list right now. Tomorrow or Friday, we'll open it up to completely register, but it's a complimentary masterclass on the 14th of October. So Greg, why don't you explain a little bit about what we're going to do in this, and I'll stay hidden here.
Yeah, we're going to give you a couple of skill sets to take home with you right away, that you can actually maybe have a distinction around what really goes on in a conversation. We're going to kind of pull back the curtain a bit and let you see what you typically or other people typically do. And only when you understand those distinctions do you really live in choice. Until then, you're in reaction to what's going on around you. But what if all of a sudden I saw something that's always been there, but I never noticed before? So we're going to actually help people have that insight as we do this, and then have them look at all the different things we can offer them, because our goal is to meet people where they are and answer their questions, help them have an insight into how can I make the relationship better? How can I move my career forward? How can I be seen as a leader rather than just someone who's back there following, doing what I'm told? I believe many times I like the on Game of Thrones when Jon Snow was asked, do you want to lead? And the gentleman told him, he said, you got to learn how to follow first. And I love that, because in the team, you learn how to lead and follow, because a team effort is something that is so important. So when we get a group together, we try to get community together. We try to show a common purpose that we all have and humanize each other to show how difficult this can be, but also give people relief where their pain is. Give them hope where maybe they thought, this isn't possible. I like making the impossible possible through practice and skill.
And I'll add to there, Greg, folks, especially folks my generation, I want to say too, we invite parents, we invite children, we invite families. We want those units together. A lot of those conversations are going to start occurring within your family units, like we mentioned. What I would say is I've been to a lot of master classes. I've been to a lot of workshops. This is different. The actionable steps that you will take as a result of this, you will see breakthroughs. This is not a lecture. This is not, a simple, little textbook that you can open and read. We're going to dive deep, and we're going to make sure that you're able to apply what you're learning so you can experience the breakthroughs that I know Greg and I have experienced, the executives we worked with have experienced, and the other emerging leaders we've worked with have experienced as well. So we're really excited. it's going to be a great opportunity.
I will say this also, if you do decide to come, please bring a situation you'd like to think about working on.
Yeah.
Because we're going to be answering questions and dealing with things, and be prepared. If you ask a question, I might ask you 3 or 4 more to make sure I'm zeroing in on the right thing, because I want it to be relevant for you. Where it's going to be something where it's really boring and everything else. I want to interact with you. I want to help you, meet you where you are, and get your questions answered, and give you some skill sets that'll help you immediately.
I wouldn't let you do a boring event. It's all about.
It won't be boring. You'll be sweating by the end of it for sure.
Yeah, no. This
Not
is
much
all
you're
about
working, but it's good. Yeah.
giving a lot of value and really helping others out. So, to hit the QR code up by Noah now, or you saw it hit in the chat, and we will get everybody registered over the next week for October 14th. We're going to have 2 time options too, because there's going to be a daytime and an evening time, because we know the audience is going to depend on that. So we're going to test out which time works different. But Greg, Noah, this has been a blast. I'm looking forward to the masterclass, everything we're working on. I will let you close us out here, Greg, because this was all about you. So anything you want to close us out with, feel free to. And like I said, if you're hearing this still up by Noah, just scan that register to your link and you'll get taken right to the landing page.
Well, I guess the biggest thing I would say is be kind to your future self. What would it be like if you looked out a year from now and you learned what we're talking about today? How might your life be different? How might the problems you face be handled differently with that different level of confidence and understanding? It's not just about knowledge. It's about the application of that knowledge. It's a course in wisdom, if you really want to get down to it. How do I apply what I've learned and for the better, to make my relationships stronger, to move my career forward, to do the best I can for my families and my community? How can I show up as my best? And that's what I want for you.
Says it all right there. I had to highlight you for that to make sure that people heard that really loud and clear.
I love it.
Thanks.
So I keep these to 30 minutes. We thank those that were on live. I saw a few you were, and those that are going to watch us on replay. Like I said, scan up by Noah up there. DM either any of us. We all check our social profiles. But we'll see you in the masterclass. Gentlemen, stay with me as I end this here. But we thank you all that were on live today and those that are going to watch on replay.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, y'all.